Welcome back. Time to get into the newspapers, and I have my colleague here in the studio. I'll be introducing him shortly if you didn't catch the start of the show. But this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and here's what they're offering you. It's a Friday. You know what? I know someone who is going through quite an ordeal when it comes to his prostate, and I'll be shooting that question to my colleague in the studio. Do you know what the state of your prostate is? When was the last time you checked? Well, if you've not been checking, something could take you by surprise. If you're a woman and your fertility status is not something you've ever checked, you ought to. Nowadays, a lot of people go down with fibroids, have to have expensive procedures and all of that. And some end up taking concoctions they don't need. That is why I'm proffering for you this morning, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Make your way to them. They have branches dotted across the country. That's the good thing. Here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronomu Abwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hansu and Esiama and Zama. Their call lines 0244 867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and I have here with me Elton John Bobe, editor. Should I say counterpart extraordinaire? He's nodding in his Charlie Fabum. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You know one thing I like about you?
Tell me.
The way you tend to rock the African Prince, not just on Fridays.
Yes, of course.
You represent, I think the Ghana Investment Promotion Center should approach you for some ambassadorial roles.
Domestication is good, you know.
Oh, it is. It is. And Nkrumah started on that path.
Of course.
So that you would eat Ghana, dress Ghana, and then it appears we lost our way.
And if you want to look at neighboring Nigeria, you know, they have been so consistent with that.
Look at their leaders.
I mean, everybody in their traditional wear is what you will see everywhere.
Anyway,
suit and tie has no place in there.
You know, that suit and tie reminds me of Stonebwoy's song.
Stonebwoy,
yeah. Anyway, so it's a new morning. I don't know for you there have been so many things that have happened this week, from Professor Frimpong Boateng and his tussle with the AG, something I'll be discussing in my blunt thoughts. Then there's also been the incidents in some parts of the Volta region post the spillage of the Akosombo Dam, the OSP collaborating with the FBI. I don't know, but do you have any thoughts you'd like to share on any of those, any story at all before we get into the papers?
Well, it's been a news week. Like you put
and
it.
then
so,
Cassio, not Cassio. I keep confusing to force him.
Atuesian, 15 years.
15 years.
I don't know whether he went to court yesterday thinking he was going to.
He was going to.
That's what I always say to people. When politicians are hauled before the court, first day you find people follow them. Second day, and then the other way you see that
the numbers reduce.
One day you go and you won't come back home, and nobody will follow you to the prison.
But he's not a politician.
Yes, no.
He dabbled in some financial mischief. Let me just leave it at that. I'll leave the courts to use the right terms, and it's ended him here.
So it's been very interesting. But the news for me this week has been the catastrophe, if you like, in the Volta region, where VRA decision to spill water from the Akosombo Dam because of danger it is posing to the dam itself has resulted in virtually destroying, communities in the Volta now. It's been extended to even part of the eastern region where people are struggling to live in their homes. Some have left.
No, some have been forced to get out of their homes, ejected,
buildings collapsed,
or evicted,
and all these pieces. But my worry, yesterday we were told by the deputy CEO of the VRA that they had a simulation exercise. The months before this spillage, and I'm told one of our colleagues, Papani, Michael Ashali, was at this simulation exercise where they took some community members, the district assemblies, and some of the MPs through what we are experiencing. What was the
what do we expect?
Question is, what kind of education did they give the people who are now complaining about the fact that little education was done ahead of the spillage? The reason why we are, encountering what is before our very eyes, and whether or not the simulation exercise was geared towards addressing what is happening now, whether they had this stress test, and whether or not whatever they had put in place is working. If it's not working, clearly somebody didn't.
But you see, I don't get certain things. We know in some of those areas, of course, there's the Keta Sea Defense Project, which has never really taken off. And those in that catchment area who are affected. I remember the last time I went by, you look at the swell of, the water and you just get scared. Then there was the recent incident up north where the Bui Power Authority came and said it hadn't spilled, yet that place was constantly flooded. And now this. And you ask yourself, I don't know. It's just disastrous. And I heard in recent times that there are going to be further
in fact, they're going to do so
spillages.
For the next 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, the fear is that if they don't do it, the Akosombo Dam itself will be in danger.
So dam, and of course we know how pivotal it is to our national life versus the people. But look at what the people are going through. And there are going to be further spillages. That incident just makes me...
My issue really is that, why do we always have to spill the water? Shouldn't we rather
find alternative ways of using it?
Where we'll store the water. Some few years ago, we had an issue with Akosombo. Because the water level had gone to a level where it was unable to turn the turbines to produce electricity for us.
I remember very well. Exactly. This is about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
And from those who have worked with the Akosombo Dam, the engineers tells us that it is a recurring matter. So every 10 years, we want to find a situation where the water level will go down to an extent that the turbines will not be in a position to produce the 800 megawatts that we need. Now we have so much we don't need. We are spilling it, destroying people's lives in the process. Why don't we put together a reservoir to conserve the water? So in times where the water level at the coast of down is at a level where it cannot produce power, then the reservoir can help shore up the water. It doesn't look like the engineering has gone into that thinking. That's the
I was just about to say that, look, our engineers, and the VRA has probably the most engineers.
Absolutely.
in any institution.
90% of the workforce are engineers.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do something about it. And innocent people are suffering. The works, and the sad aspect is that there will be no compensation for those who've had their houses, their property destroyed in the process.
In the one up north, someone was actually saying that, well, they should move from their homes and let them out to business people who come there seasonally, because it's not, people can't just up and leave like that and go where? That's the question.
You've not provided where. If it's okay, your homes are going to be destroyed. We have put up a temporary, community for you to live there. There's nothing like that. When they say move to higher lands, to go and stay where? The society has not provided for these things. The assemblies have not provided for these things. So when they say move, you're on your own.
And right before we get into the papers, that even reminds me, the McCarthy Hill, Weija, some parts of Kaswa area. Yes. I'm not even talking about the spillages there from the Weija Dam that sometimes create. I'm talking about the fact that some of them, the rock faces, and then again, that area is on a fault line.
Yeah.
It's earthquake prone. Actually, some of those areas, people shouldn't even be staying there.
Yeah.
And God forbid, I always, whenever I use that stretch, my mind just, for those who stay there, like my heart is always in my mouth. Because if something happened, look at Turkey recently.
Yeah.
Look at, is it Morocco recently? We don't have any experience in dealing with such things. So if, God forbid, that happens, perish the thought.
That people are living upstairs. Others are doing quarry business down there, destroying the stones, winning sand in the process.
This country is...
The assembly has won, EPA has won, people are still putting up structures.
Oh, yeah.
I know Asamoah has a
Some engineers have told him in the past that, look, that thing, but hey.
So clearly we have, I don't know whether it's leadership failure that is...
People shouldn't have the option. Listen, if there's risks to life, people shouldn't even have the option of going to build there.
No.
It shouldn't be possible. No. It should be this area, you don't go there. So it's a sheer, lack of the authorities cracking the whip. But let's get into the papers. I have the Daily Guide and the Ghanaian Times. What do you have?
I have the Daily Graphic and the Finder.
Okay, let's check out the stories.
There appears to be the same stories in all the papers because clearly all of them are following the same beat. So dam spillage wreaks havoc. That's what we're talking about. Houses, farms submerged in voter origination, regional economic activities grounded. And look at the number of people who are sitting there. Clearly, they don't even know when they're...
Children, babies.
Yes. They have no place to sleep. The assembly has not provided for. It's like they didn't know that this was going to happen. They knew because months before the spillage, they had been taken through education and then the warnings and everything. Just waited for this to happen. Now you have hundreds, thousands of people left homeless with their children, how they are going to feed their children, where they're going to sleep. They've been left on their own. This is absolutely...
Education will be truncated. For some of them, education will be truncated for a while. Yes. Some may never return to school after... For such people, it's crucial because for someone, on the back of this, maybe the school itself has got flooded or something. They may never return to school. That interest may never be there. That's human capital lost.
It is very sad, and I'm so disappointed with the way we are managing this thing. It's like business as usual. It's like it's happening. So what? You have to take care of yourself whichever way you can. This is not leadership at play, and I think that the VRA, the district assemblies, must do more to address this matter than just giving reasons why they'll have to continue to spill. Yeah, you will spill. But then to what extent?
Yeah.
Right. So that is the story on the front page of the graphic. It has pictures. We have houses. The water level almost it's at terrible. A level where, to the extent that even the power plant has
they had to turn it off.
They had to turn it off
because otherwise, and even I'm sure by the time they go and check, I remember there was this case. Was it in the Western region? Last time there were some rains, and It definitely would compromise the equipment.
Yes.
I mean, the water, if it goes into certain parts, it means... Yes. And I remember back then, the ECG was talking about each component costing about $1 million and stuff like that. Because this is equipment that is...
Absolutely.
So
Benjamin.
Elton, it doesn't make any sense. We have equipment that is this expensive. We know that there will be spillages.
Yeah.
We know that there will be flooding, especially because of our system. And we can't contain and find ways of doing this. And even maybe, I don't know whether it's going to be some perimeter for such... installations, ECG installations, so that then we have a vicious cycle of, in Siakum, I say, and we are going to, when we don't even have the money.
We don't even have the money, and that's actually the sad part. So, like I was saying earlier on,
so do you know what this means? It may condemn some people moving forward,
of course,
to power outages, power cuts, because now you can't turn on the transformer or whatever it is.
It's unacceptable. In fact, every step of the way you will find failure. And you can clearly attribute it to somebody whose responsibility was to ensure that we don't get here. And they knew. It's not that it just happened by accident. Something that they have planned for months before.
Reminds me of the Canadian who used to bet that every year Accra would get flooded.
Yeah.
They had to stop the bet because till today he would have been winning.
Of course. So the other big story in the paper is this one. In fact, the judge's ruling is quite interesting. So the founder of the defunct Capital Bank, William Atuasiam, has been sentenced to 15 years imprisonment with hard labor, right, by the Accra High Court for stealing. I mean, they put it bluntly, stealing over 90 million of the bank's money. And these are depositors' money. Asian now becomes the first banking executive to serve a jail term following the massive banking sector cleanup in 2017 that led to the collapse of the 7 indigenous banks, including the Capital Bank. In the ruling, the court presided over by Justice Eric Cheba held that Asian exploited Capital Bank to his advantage and dissipated the funds of the bank without taking into consideration the depositors of the bank. The convict demonstrated sheer greed in his desire to own another bank beside Capital Bank Limited and left no stone unturned through subterfuge and deceit with some criminal intent to set up Sovereign Bank. Being in a position of trust, he was expected to have demonstrated a sense of responsibility and true fidelity. He had no cause whatsoever to steal such gargantuan sum of money. These are the words of the presiding judge, Justice Cheba, Eric Cheba, who has now put into the cooler Mr. Atuasiam for the next 15 years.
Custodial sentence, so 15 years. And it's quite an interesting trend. I think he's been given a long rope, a pretty long rope. And at a point, even the AG,
I mean, I think for three times that he went to court, he always had an excuse why he was unable to provide the money to pay. And then the court would give another time. The court gave you another time. The court gave you another time. So even I'm told by our court correspondents that even yesterday in court, he said he has this property around the Spinters Road. He's in the process of selling.
He's saying he has properties in Ghana and outside of Ghana.
Yes.
I'm asking myself, you knew this was knocking on your door. Why didn't you get... It's like a cat and mouse game. That
you have already pleaded guilty in this matter. And if you have a property worth $10 million and you have to pay $90 million, and you didn't you didn't do anything ahead of that. So clearly,
so now he's paid about a third of it.
Yes, and the thing is
left up with about 2/3 of it, and his lawyers were contesting that he had shown goodwill. But the point is that he had certain payments to meet at certain deadlines.
Yes,
and that was the whole point. And he would have been in the cooler earlier had it not been some petitioning from his lawyers.
But the thing about the other aspect is that beyond the custodial sentence, he still has to pay some amount of money in this regard. Do you see that justice is finally being served in relation to the banking sector?
It's going to be difficult to not sound acerbic, like biting on, because look, no one wants to do jail time.
Yeah.
Especially not in Ghana's jails. Let's face it.
But the conditions alone
you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. That's a point to be separated. With sometimes in law, they look at even your circumstances. With the sort of life he probably would have lived, this is going to be excruciatingly painful for him.
Yeah.
This experience, it's basically going to be from hero to zero,
from
race to grass.
To zero. Yeah.
And let's not also forget, it's sometimes not even the jail time. It's about your credibility and what it does to it. So in your sector where you operate, it's like the former PPA boss. Okay.
Yeah.
So now in procurement, you'll be looked at with a certain. You may actually never be able to go into that area again based on the blot that has been put on your career. So that in itself even sends him out of what he's done his whole life. But then you also look at the fact that these people have engaged in criminal activities, criminality, which has caused the state a lot of damage by way of cost.
Yeah. And thousands
it can't jobs. Be people have lost their jobs.
Yeah, and then their money as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the law is the law, and when its long arms reach you, you must pay the piper. Yeah. So I would say that in this instance, and for me, look, there have been other people. I know there's also someone else, I think, tied to this case that, there are others tied to this particular case. I don't know what has happened with them.
I know that along the line, some of them who were suspect in this matter were turned into the witness for the prosecution.
Yeah, that happened.
So clearly, their charges were dropped, and now they became witnesses. They testified.
Well, I don't know about dropped, because in some instances there's a plea bargain, and then maybe you may get whatever term or hefty sum that may have been slapped on you reduced. But hey, look, this is what it's come to. I think Ato Essien has had
enough time to redeem himself, and clearly
it's just that the amount involved was also
quite huge.
It's a lot of money.
Yes, a lot of money. But again, it also goes to make the point about the amount of money he's alleged to have stolen. Now we can't even do allegation because the court has confirmed that he stole the money.
Yeah.
So 90 million. But I don't understand. You say that you have property worth $10 million.
Right.
And you are just, you have guilt.
So why wait till the noose is around your neck?
It makes no sense for me, to be very honest. It makes no sense.
Charlie.
Well,
but I honestly, while I know that he's done a lot of damage, and sometimes the consequences, your family and stuff.
Yeah, the wife was in court yesterday. And then when the sentence was handed down, everything changed.
You can't help but feel sorry for the family.
Yeah, your term there is bad. So ECOWAS needs support to flush out those who are thinking of destabilizing West Africa. President Akufo-Addo says that the same support the US is providing Ukraine, ECOWAS needs same support to deal with.
What happened to the ECOWAS, plan to invade Niger?
It was just mere talk, no action. There was mere talk, no action.
Elton, you are not one of the chiefs of defense staff. You are not one of the defense ministers. You are not one of the.
They said this a long time ago. They said they were going to invade. Russia made some pronouncement. They followed up with action. Israel was attacked by Hamas. They are also doing what they have to do to protect themselves in the Middle East, which I think that there should be some talks to do because of the humanitarian crisis that is beginning to emerge. ECOWAS. When Mali went on this road, what did they say? When Burkina Faso went on, what did they say?
In fact, there was Guinea, even
yes,
ahead
what did they say?
Yeah.
So these are just a club for some old men who come around, drink wine, make pronouncements, and then they go to sleep.
I don't know. That may sound a bit, but I think maybe Bola Tinubu may be preoccupied with dealing with his own internal Chicago University issues. And but you know, I saw an article on the BBC in recent times on that. I have seen footage. I've watched footage from Nigerian television. I've listened to the lawyer for Atiku and others, and the claims they've made. I was almost convinced, but then the BBC article also points to certain discrepancies, which points to the fact that Bola Tinubu actually did attend, did graduate, but there are some discrepancies. But they don't invalidate his bits. Charlie, African leadership or African misleadership is so interesting. It's so interesting. But on the international front, don't you have anything from the Daily Graphic? I think it's usually on page 5.
Yes. So on page 5, outbreak of diphtheria kills 600 in Nigeria.
Wow.
And wife of deposed President Ali Bongo detained. The son as well. Malawi issues heat wave warning as temperature set to soar. 8 UN peacekeepers detained in Congo. But then the biggest thing happening in Africa now is that the IMF, for the first time in 50 years, decided that they will hold the annual general. So it's ongoing. and the front page, a picture of our own finance minister.
That's the World Bank
in a very
head.
hearty embrace.
With the agency here,
So for Rotali's government delegation to IMF World Bank annual meeting, this is taking place in Africa for the first time in 50 years in Morocco. Ahead of we looking forward to another $600 million from the IMF.
When you mentioned Ali Bongo, do you know what came to mind?
No.
Make some noise.
When
When the people were talking about telcos, internet access and stuff, that one, the day you didn't hear. Bad leadership, economy, you didn't hear. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, health insurance scheme hits 17.2 million membership. Should we say yay? But I've also heard about the challenges of even using your health insurance. Charlie, the stories I get to hear are not good. They are not good. I have not used mine in a thanks to our own internal insurance scheme. I don't get to. But people come to me, and even when you use it, what you get, like they ask themselves, is it worth it?
Because again, the hospitals, the claim is that it takes so long for them to get the claims back from the NHS. So they are more interested in the cash and carry rather than you presenting a card to them. And the thing is also that health insurance say that the premium we are paying is not so much, so there's very little they can do. So it exists in name, but in terms of practice, it's difficult to get quality. But I know that they are doing so much.
They are.
I think that
and what's his name?
Okoboy.
Okoboy, Dr. Okoboy.
I think that left to them, government capping is also another issue that is really hurting them. I think that
now we are even talking of dialysis. Offer something. I think the cancers recently, the child cancers, they have
included
a fight that even I had participated in.
But this morning, the health minister told us that a paper has been presented to cabinet. The expectations that cabinet will consider it. And if there is agreement at the cabinet level, dialysis treatment may be included in the ailments captured under the National Health Insurance Scheme. So let's just keep our...
Let's just see how it goes. But it's heartwarming that we have 17.2 million people on board. That definitely is a good thing.
In the UK, the NHS is one of the most profitable, most important entities.
It is crucial to the lives of people in the UK.
Little thing about the NHIS becomes a national issue because of the implication it will have on people if there should be any glitch with the operations of the NHS.
Which is also why part of what I'm going to be talking about this morning in my blunt thoughts, the exodus of some of our professionals, nurses, teachers, and all of that. But the nurses, I think this year alone, or is it last year, 10,000 of our teachers, just to the UK, not even to other parts of, no, just to the UK. So it also tells you about what impact all of this is having. And speaking about the NHIS, they wanted to be so optimal in performance that they will do what they are doing, get nurses, get other professionals. I have a friend doctor who's up and left. It is what it is.
The education ministry said they produce 30,000, so if 10,000 should leave, it's no problem for them. Yeah, that's what they've told us. They said they produce 30,000 teachers annually.
So how come we go to... During the COVID era, I went to some public hospitals there. bro, I'll not share, because that was when I realized that you can get to and no doctor, and if you're not careful, you have to wait for another 4 hours for a doctor.
I'll give you a tip. I mean, I had an experience. I had to take a very close relative of mine to one of our leading hospitals. The conditions there were so bad. So I spoke to a doctor friend who said, if you have the resources to spend, I will recommend that you take this relative of yours to the University of Ghana Medical Center. And I'll tell you what, the service was
the service there is world class from what I have been told. I've never been there, but the cost.
Absolutely. But then you are looking at the person getting better. If you have the resources to spend, I chose that one. Because the conditions, I mean, there was not even a bed for the person to be administered. So therefore, whilst we got to the UGMs, everything had been laid out perfectly.
Perfectly.
And then, I mean, also, I think that why should, if we have...
So now it's about resources. If you have the money,
you have
you will get quality healthcare. And if you don't, you stand the risk of dying.
Yeah.
Teresa Kufuor's legacy worth celebrating. Whenever I see these stories, I mean, I saw in recent times former President Kufuor with all these people coming to a trail of people coming to commiserate with him, and it's really so sad that we've lost Mama Teresa. She was just this very calm person. She's one of those fine ones in the Fourth Republic. She's been very laid back, but still making her impact. Akosombo Dam spillage, 7 districts hit by floods, farmlands, houses, other properties affected in Greater Accra, Eastern and Volta regions. And then this one, I want to read it. There was that video. So Ghanaian community in Israel safe, Foreign Affairs Ministry assures. Let me just get to that story so you can go to your next newspaper. Okay, so on page 13, it says, the Ghanaian community in Israel is currently safe. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has assured. A statement issued by the ministry in Accra on Wednesday said the viral video of Ghanaians allegedly caught up in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas was not a true reflection of the situation. The statement urged the public to contact the Ghanaian embassy in Israel in the event of any concerns or emergencies related to Ghanaian citizens. Nowadays, fake news is becoming quite an issue, fake videos and all of that. And you've even seen, I think it's a good opportunity to share, the videos of people using Joy News journalists like me.
Yeah.
Then they claim that there's this medication for diabetes. Do you know how many people have called me? And do you know how many high ups in society have called me? Oh, Ben, is it true? I want to. And I'm like, no, don't dare. And it's good that we've put out stuff on Joy News on Facebook. But it's crazy where our world is going is AI deepfake.
Yes, deepfake. I mean, I understand it perfectly. We are not behind it. It is not us. We have put out a disclaimer, whoever is doing. And somebody was telling me that the number that was provided together with that video, you called that number, somebody here in Accra picked it and said that he was ready to deliver the medicine to that person. So therefore, the police can do a lot more and arrest these individuals who are behind it.
Yeah.
But then again also, it's about why would people just listen to a promo or a campaign, or better so an advert, promoting the potency of a certain drug.
And the speed, it says in about 3 days and all of that. Exactly. But you see, I think we ought to pay attention. We ought to be really careful because we are in the age of artificial intelligence, deepfake, and so many evils. Yeah. If you look at the videos carefully, you would see that they put something black in the mouth of, sort of to distort. And you can tell that the voice has a little, it's a clone, but it's not exactly the same. There are telltale signs to look out for. Else, you may do something, and imagine someone getting such a drug, consuming it. Only God knows what is in there and what further damage you could do to
So the point I was trying to make is that, please, if you think that you are suffering from one ailment or the other, go to the hospital. Let them have a thorough check on you. And then I'm sure the doctor will be able to prescribe the medicine that can better cure you. Not to just listen to radio, listen to be on the television, and then once you hear somebody promoting a drug, you don't
check, you don't cross-check, you just go.
Yeah, I think people should be more wiser in some of these things because you don't know what you're putting into your system and the damage that may be causing.
Just to highlight this before we go, as we've had our dialysis crisis campaign and all of that, the story was told of this person, and someone was passing by claiming that, some concoction could resolve certain issues.
Yes.
The person bought it, took it. Next thing, the person was there and now developed,
another issue.
Kidney problems. And look at how expensive it is. I get surprised. Tell me what you are putting inside you. People
people don't really value their, I don't know whether their health. It's like you are prepared to drop anything into your stomach. You don't know how damaging that's going to cause. Some few days ago, I had a back pain. So there's a clinic around my area. I went there to complain about the back pain. So my thinking was that they were just going to prescribe some painkiller or some ointment for me to go and use. But this young doctor in the office, Dr. Asantua, very young lady, she said, no, I mean, pain, obviously, the first thing that will come to mind is that let me give you a painkiller for you to go and deal with it. But she took advantage to give me a thorough medical checkup at Medcare. And then, I mean, what I saw, about 3-page, review of my entire body. Part of it. and there are few ones I'm dealing with because until I went there, I didn't know. And I'd gone there with the hope that I would just be giving painkiller to go.
Now it brought up a whole number
of things that I'm dealing with. So I'm grateful to her because she took advantage. She decided to do her work. Now I got to know my health status, and that is what I think that people should do.
So sometimes you even think that it is something, but it's not that thing. It is something else that is.
It's not just enough to just walk into a pharmacy shop and say that I want this, I want that.
I mean, let's get into some other stories.
So the Finder has another big story that happened yesterday. OSP seeks to oust judge, accuses Justice Edward Chum of prejudice. So yesterday, the OSP or lawyers for Madam Sisi Adapa, together with the OSP, were in court, and the court had agreed to an abridgment of time. So yesterday, the OSP was going to move motion, justifying why the court should confirm the seizure and then the freezing order of Madam Sisi Adapa's bank account, and also to take a plea in another matter. They have cited her for not declaring her income and property, and then also and then to start the process. But the judge read out a petition in court saying that the Chief Justice had been petitioned by the OSP, making some accusations that they think that the judge would not be fair in the matter, and for that matter, the Chief Justice should take steps to recuse the judge from further presiding on all the matters before him.
We are waiting what's that result.
So the 18th of October is when the judge will know whether he will continue to sit on this case or another judge will take over.
Well, the Daily Guide to wrap the conversation. Neil Ante bows out of Parliament. For you follow politics. I know you'd be very interested in that. And there's also leaked tape. 2 cops admit voices. Bugri Nabu says so. He came to Parliament in 2013.
Neil Ante van der Poy. And the interesting thing about Neil Ante and then him leaving Parliament is that 3 individuals have filed to succeed Neil Ante van der Poy.
He's asked them to be very circumspect.
I think that if you live in Ododo and you want to become an MP,
there must be Neil somewhere.
Start with Neil. Forget it.
You remember Neil Ante Bannerman from the MPP was trying to...
So the 3 individuals in this want to succeed him. Ni Okan Laye, ni Kote Ashi, ni Yaboy Anan. If you are not
ni Benjamin Akakochu. Of course. I'm heading to Ododo.
If you are not you don't go to Ododo, I beg you.
Hey! Anyway, that's an interesting one there. Okay, so we've come to the end of the newspaper review, and I mentioned at the start that I was going to do this. When last did you get your prostate checked?
In fact, in the last, I think, in the latter part of last year, and then this year I've done it twice.
Oh wow!
Yes. So
congratulations.
Twice.
I
mean, my attention was drawn to it last year. So the latter part of last year, I checked. It was okay, but I still took advantage.
Is it the PSA? You did the PSA?
Yes, I did everything. Everything checked out very well. But then the doctor said that once you are 35 and above, it can happen anytime.
Look, now even some men who are not even 30 are developing problems.
So apart from checking out, I was okay. Give me some medicine that occasionally you take so that you will still stay within the safe zone. Yeah, so it is important that we do. So prostate cancer for men, breast cancer for
It's not even just the cancer, sometimes enlargement and the discomfort and everything it does to you. That's a good one there. I am yet to do it this year, but I'll definitely do it. I did it last year as well. And that's why we're offering to you Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening. Come, they'll check you out for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just locate them at any of their branches here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, easy to find. There's also Kumasi Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanso and Esiama and Zema. If you'd like to give them a call, the numbers are 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Reach out to them. Let me also let you know the topic that I'll be discussing today after Prime Sports. For my blunt thoughts, the Galamsey Circus and our professionals' exodus, the dangerous path Ghana is treading. That's what I'm going to be talking about. But up next, we have Prime Take with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Today, he's going to be engaging the immediate past director of physical education and the sports unit at the Ghana Education Service in the person of Emmanuel Domenya. That is up next on the AM Show. Do stay.